Lions are upbeat, and they're not alone, because when it comes to happiness, it seems nobody does it like Latin America. In a new survey calculating the most positive countries in the world, listen to this: 7 of the top 10 were in Latin America: Panama, Paraguay, El Salvador, Venezuela, Guatemala, Ecuador, and Costa Rica. People in those countries were most likely to say yes to questions like, did you smile a lot today? Did you feel enjoyment today? And for the record, the least positive? People in Singapore. And that is the world's 5th richest country per person. John Clifton is the author of the report. He is a partner at Gallup World Poll, and he joins us from Washington, D.C. John, good to see you. Look, I was expecting Qatar to be at the top of that list. It's warm. We know that's a factor in how people feel. Per capita income, as you know, is off the charts. Education's pretty solid here. But people in Latin America topping the list. Did that result surprise you?
A little bit. I mean, I think what we know at the root of this is that we do see some cultural similarities. But I think what surprises people the most is the fact that money isn't driving all of these emotions. So Danny Kahneman and Angus Deaton did a report based on data in the United States. Gallup measures well-being every single day in America. We interview 1,000 people a night. And what they found with these particular metrics is that after $75,000, income makes much less of a difference in terms of these positive and negative emotions on a daily basis.
Wow, it's interesting. Is it true? I've seen this as a pushback on the survey. Is it true that culturally Latin Americans tend not to talk about the negative, even if they feel it, and maybe that's part of the reason Latin Americans dominate this poll?
So our data would suggest that that's not true. Oh. And the reason is because when we look at positive emotions and negative emotions, Latin Americans not only report high positive emotions, they also report high negative emotions. So, in fact, when we look at it, now this is a little bit different from Latin Americans, but if we look at the #1 country in the world that reports high positive emotions and high negative emotions, meaning respondents are saying that, yes, they had a lot of stress, yes, they report a lot of anger, but they also say that they smile and laughed a lot. The #1 country in the world is actually the Philippines.
Interesting. So give us an idea more of the questions. There are a set of questions that you asked that brought this data to light.
Sure. So the way that we measure well-being is based on 2 things. And in fact, we define well-being as how people evaluate and how they experience their lives. So this is a focus on the daily experience. So we asked 5 questions in terms of how people kind of experience negative things, and also 5 questions to look at positive emotionality. So the questions dive into things like, were you treated with respect all day yesterday? In fact, that's the item where over 80% of people around the world say that they were treated with respect all day yesterday. So if you look at that and you kind of take the aggregate of those items, I think one of the main findings from this entire study is the fact that in terms of daily experience, people are experiencing very high positive emotions.
Huh. One more for you. Are Americans happier than Brits?
I don't know specifically where Americans sit compared to Brits, but, you know, interestingly enough, Americans are in the top quartile when it comes to positive emotions, and they're also in the top quartile when it comes to negative emotions.
Oh, Lord.
So again, Americans have a culture where they express a lot of emotions. And again, if anyone's interested in these data, they can go to Gallup, where all the rankings exist right on our homepage.
John Clifton, joining us from Washington, D.C. Good to talk to you. I'm in a room full of Brits.
Thank you for taking.
I had to sort of, if I could, twist the knife just a bit. John, appreciate it. Thank you.
Thanks. Yeah.